Hi, welcome to Find Your Flock. I'm your host, Dr. Sandra Clavijo from the Schaefer School of Engineering and Science at Stevens. If you're unsure about which engineering major to choose, you're in the right place. Each episode, I chat with students and recent grads about their favorite classes, internships, professors, and more, helping you discover the path that fits you. Today's guest is a recent graduate from engineering management, Ava Ragonese. Welcome to Find Your Flock.
Hi, Sandra. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Excellent. We're so excited you're here. We always like to get started with finding a little bit about yourself and what you studied at Stevens.
Yeah, definitely. So I came to Stevens and got my bachelor's of engineering in engineering management. So I graduated in 2022, and then I stayed for our grade 4+1 program. So I ended up getting my master's in systems analytics as well.
Excellent. So how did you come to study engineering management? How did you choose engineering management?
That's a great question. So I actually originally came in as a biomedical engineering student. So I remember in high school, I just like loved AP Bio. I was a really big STEM person, so I chose biomedical engineering just for like my love of biology, and then started some classes at Stevens, and then just kind of quickly realized I was a little bit more interested in like that business application side of engineering. So I talked to a couple of people I knew and ended up switching to engineering management. And it was a great switch. I couldn't see myself doing anything different.
For some of our listeners who may not be familiar with engineering management, can you help explain what it would be like? Imagine, a new student who may not be familiar with the discipline.
Yeah, so it's kind of the intersection of like engineering, business, and also like innovative technology. So the great thing about engineering management is that I had all the same foundational engineering courses as my other counterparts. So all of like the same physics, mathematics, like that foundational engineering side. And then where it started to break off was more into like the broader business application. So I had some courses in engineering economics, couple of hands-on like statistics courses, project management. So that's kind of like the broad sense of engineering management, is that you're kind of in the middle of like business and technology. So it's great to have that engineering background, but also kind of understand how you can take that like a step further and like what's like the application of like the program or like a system that you're actually creating. So that was really exciting.
I know you mentioned a couple of the classes. Engineering management follows the core engineering curriculum, but what was your favorite class that you took in your program?
That's a great question. I actually think I have to call a little bit to my master's degree for that one. So anything around data, I really enjoyed. So there was a master's class in data visualization, and we got to take hands-on Tableau, which is a data visualization tool. So we kind of got to see the application of like the systems that we were looking at. And what that was really great, and I loved it because it was one hands-on, and also just kind of showed you like how you can take what you're learning and like apply it like to like a broader sense of like a business decision or like a marketing decision, or like the direction of something that's getting built. So that was really fun. I love my master's program as well, and I was really glad that I did that at Stevens.
Okay, so now we're going to do the reverse.
Yeah.
What was the hardest class you took at Stevens, and what were some of the strategies you used to get through it?
Yeah, so I mean, no lie, Stevens engineering curriculum, like it's pretty robust. So, I would say I'm trying to think of which semester. I think it was like sophomore year. It might have been like first semester. There were like a couple of courses that was like physics E&M, like circuits, I think was the hardest for me. But overall, that whole semester was, I think, like the toughest because it was so many like new concepts, and then kind of taking more of that like advanced like mathematics courses. So like that whole semester was really tough. And circuits, I remember, didn't really come too easily to me because I never did any type of like hands-on like courses like that. And there were like a lot of labs involved, so definitely really tough semester. I would say the best thing in management was honestly leaning on like my friends and really taking study groups, like doing practice questions. Like I feel like the biggest thing that I noticed from like all of the Stevens courses is just like breaking down all of the questions and concepts into like, okay, what are the equations you need to know? Like, what are the different ways that this concept can be applied? So we would just like sit in the library and like book those. I don't know if they still do it, but we were able to book rooms on like the second floor. Yeah, so we would like study there for hours and like quiz each other and like whiteboard session, everything. So that was definitely like our way through it. But I would say if I didn't have my friends or other engineering peers, I don't know how I would get through it.
Definitely. So besides your classes, I'm sure you participated in clubs and extracurriculars. Did you have any that you were involved with that you wanted to kind of mention and kind of tell us how they, helped you in your studies or how they shaped your experience at Stevens?
Yeah, so I did quite a lot when I was here. On campus, I was a tour guide, which I really liked because I got to talk to a lot of incoming students. And especially coming to Stevens, I actually had an older brother that attended 5 years before me. So I kind of enjoy just being able to be that kind of resource to younger students or incoming students that maybe didn't have that resource before. Like I was able to ask my older brother like all the questions about campus and what should I do. So I really enjoyed that part of Stevens of being that like resource to those incoming students. And being a tour guide was fun because we also just got to learn all of like the history, all of like those like random factoids that you wouldn't normally know. So that was great. I did that all 4 years. And then some other stuff I did. So I did club volleyball. I was the president for a year. So that was really fun just because it was like a good way to like decompress after classes and like stay active. It was also fun because it was a little bit newer of a program when I first started. I think the year before me was like the main year that they kicked it off the ground. So it was kind of cool to see that program like really grow. And I remember when I was a senior, I'd go back to like open gyms and I would see like triple the amount of girls that we had when we started. So that was super fun to see. Yeah, so that was definitely a good way to decompress, meet other people I wouldn't really normally meet. Um, and then the last thing that was like kind of like the main stuff I did at Stevens was in a sorority. So I was a sister of Delta Phi Epsilon. So I really like that. Just kind of getting to learn along girls that were studying all different majors, all different like backgrounds and like different skills. It was really cool like to kind of like come together and not only connect outside in like a social setting, but also help each other again, like be a part of those study groups, prepare for any tests and exams that we had. I also found a really good opportunity in my sorority for like career development. So just having like a lot of girls that were in other majors and like graduated, we like kept in contact with them. They were doing different kinds of internships and like research and all of that. So that was a really great opportunity that I got to not only connect with a lot of peers in my class, but also like learn from the older girls as well and like kind of like the do's and don'ts and kind of like how to think about my career path after Stevens because I think that was like a big part of when I was at school is so many people get involved in internships and research opportunities and like different types of programs. So um kind of having that resource and those girls available was great to start thinking about that, as early as like freshman year.
Definitely. I feel like those are always the top questions. Students want to know, how did you get an internship? What internships did you do? How did you spend the summers? And that really can shape, your educational experience and sometimes even, solidify or switch programs. So we'd love to hear about maybe some of your summer experiences if they included internships, how you kept real busy over the summer too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I feel like I probably tried every single summer opportunity you could. So I actually did a research lab my freshman year, summer. And that's kind of when I made that final decision to get away from biomedical engineering because I found that the research lab was super interesting and was really innovative. But then I kind of realized I couldn't really picture myself day to day being in a lab. So that hands-on experience, like it's great. And I always tell people that it's really good to find out what you don't like just as much as what you do like. And it depends on the person. So that was a great experience. And then after that, I actually switched to our co-op program for a short amount of time. So I did internships right actually the summer of COVID hit. So I had an internship at Macy's, which was project management. So I was super excited. I was in the office 5 days a week. And then COVID hit, so it went remote, and then like all of that kind of stuff. So um tried it all, but I would say, getting internships, um, What's great is just like to network within Stevens. Like there's so many people that I knew, and including myself that like applied to internships that we knew that other people from Stevens either graduated and got full-time offers and have been working there, or maybe they also had an internship and like there's some type of like internal referral program. So I feel like definitely like using your connections and Stevens alumni, I feel like always love to help like whenever I get, younger students that will message me on LinkedIn. Like I always love to respond to that. So I feel like reaching out to alumni, like it might be a little scary, but it's always a good thing. So definitely doing that. But yeah, I loved interning because it kind of helped me figure out what I like and what I don't like. So I did an internship at Macy's in project management. Then I had a couple of internships in technology consulting, which ultimately led me to where I am now in like product marketing. But I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit too. But yeah, and then I ended up doing the co-op program for a little bit, and then I eventually did switch into 4+1. But even after I switched, I didn't find any issue finding internships. I feel like that was like the scariest thing. I was like, oh no, if I don't do co-op, like I'm not gonna find a job. But that's definitely not the case, right? Like as long as you put yourself out there, like I did, and like use those connections, no matter like what track you take, if it's 4+1, if it's co-op, or just like the research route, like there's definitely opportunities there. So.
Definitely. Um, yeah, we want to hear about your current position and what like an average day looks like for you, to help start imagining. I love that you shared that you just couldn't imagine yourself in a lab every day, and I think that's an important realization. So as our listeners are hearing about your everyday. So we want to hear about your current job and kind of give us like a day to day. What does an average day or week look like? Maybe days aren't the same, maybe it's more weekly. But that would be wonderful to hear about.
Yeah, so I'm currently a product marketing manager at AvePoint. So AvePoint's a software company. We're actually based in Jersey City, so right across from Hoboken and campus. But so what I mainly do here is that I sit on our product strategy team, which is really great because I'm very close to a lot of our product managers and the leaders that actually are talking to developers and working on how the product is getting built. And then where I come into play is that I have a good relationship with those folks that I'm able to help kind of bring the value and bring to market those products that we're building. So AvePoint's mainly a data security and governance and resilience provider. So we're all about data management, right? We're all about that protection around your critical data, especially with AI being the new thing. So that's something it's really important in my role to kind of stay on top of like what are those industry trends, which I think really ties a lot to what I was learning at Stevens. I almost like joke that I feel like product marketing is like the perfect job for engineering management because it's such a mix of technical acumen, but also having like that business side and understanding like the marketing trends, like where is software trending in the next like 5 to 10 years? How is AI changing the market? Like what does that mean for different companies? And what their data security needs are. So I'm definitely very tied to those external factors as well as internally of what we're building. So I would say like between product marketing and product management, it's a great route for engineering management students because it helps you like use that engineering background, but also like understand like what are the decisions that you're making. Like, it's kind of it's interesting right now. There's a lot of change happening in our industry. So we really have to stay on top of what we want to build and prioritizing that. So it comes down to like a lot of tough decisions of um, you know, what do we want to build in our products and how do we want to bring those to market? So I would say kind of understanding all of that is a really critical piece of my job. So it's really exciting, but I kind of like sitting at like the middle of it because I'm not totally on the technical side. Like I'm not developing the products myself, but I'm helping like see the impact of that and like talk to customers. So that's also a big part of my job. I'm a little bit extroverted. So I would say if anyone, that's engineering management or engineering undecided that's considering um this path to kind of think about that is like if you want to interact with different customers and being on like the client side as well, of thinking about like the product itself, it's a really good role.
That's excellent. Um, so I think you've touched a bit on like some of your favorite parts of your job, that you get to kind of straddle between clients and developers and really have your toes in research and what's what's coming, and really taking a look at those market trends. So you go to an office every day. Do you spend your day in meetings, working with teams? Are you on Zoom calls? Do you go visit your clients? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a fun mix. So I'm am hybrid, which I'm finding that more and more companies are kind of leaning that way, especially in the technology space. So I'm in an office 3 days a week. So I would say how I spend my days, it's a great mix of everything you just said. So a lot of days I'll either be, working at my desk and just kind of doing a lot of individual like planning. So if I'm making like a strategy plan for like a marketing campaign, that'll be kind of like my heads down work. But a big part of my job is interacting with other teams, even globally. So depending on the day, I might have like a 7 a.m. call or like a 9 p.m. call with different like regions, which is really exciting because it kind of exposes you to not only different ways of working of like our different regional counterparts, but also kind of collaborating like that globally. It is just like super exciting. So um, that's really great. And then I would also say it's kind of like a mix of hybrid meetings and in person. There's certain topics, especially when it comes to um, kind of product decisions and going after different markets when like we're making those strategies that we'll have like whiteboarding sessions. So I would say that's pretty common that you'll see us with like expo markers and like in the meeting room. So that's probably the most hands-on I would say, but as I mentioned, I'm not a lab person, so this is kind of the extent of what my hands-on is, and I love it though. So it's really exciting. I get to meet so many different people and travel a little bit too. So there's a lot of industry conferences. Like I'll actually be in Las Vegas in a week from now, talking about Google. So that's really exciting. So it's a good opportunity to get to travel a little bit as well and meet other people.
That's so fun. So where do you think, in the next 5 years, how do you imagine your career kind of growing or changing, or what are your personal goals for the next 5 years in this space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's definitely so much more to learn, especially this being, my first job outside of Stevens. Um, But I would say I definitely find myself sticking in this like product marketing space. But I really want to like expand more into like that like strategic thinking, and not just like executing campaigns and, bringing new products to market, but also thinking kind of holistically of like what are like my company's goals and how can I like support that through new products, and like what we're thinking about like on the roadmap. So it's all really exciting stuff, but there's like new opportunities in different technology spaces. Like there's so much between Microsoft and Google that they're innovating towards. So I would love to have like stronger relationships with those companies and then, kind of bring more exciting stuff out.
Well, I know I'm going to see your LinkedIn update pretty soon. Uh, lead strategist, Ave Point Solutions, we'll see it.
Hmm.
Um, looking back, I think we've gone a little bit full circle, but looking back, thinking about our current first year students that are deciding between engineering majors, you've imparted a lot of advice thus far, but any other advice you would give those first year students as they're starting to make their decision on their majors?
Definitely. So I kind of touched on this a little bit, but definitely try to envision like what you would imagine your day to day to be like. Depending on the major, it can kind of lend itself to, what the career path would be like. So, if you see yourself, on a construction or testing site, like you want to be in the action, think about that. If you want to be a civil or environmental engineering or even like naval, or, if you want to be more in like a lab setting, which could be like biomedical engineering or any of the other majors I mentioned, or, maybe your dream is to like work in New York City and you know that you want to be downtown every day. So I would just say try to imagine, where you see yourself because it's really tough to know exactly what you want to do, especially when you first get to Stevens, just because there's so much to learn. And I used to like hate that question when I was a freshman. It's like, what do you want to do? And it's like, I don't know, like I don't even know what's possible. So I would say, like try not to focus too much on that but just focus on where you see yourself and you'll kind of get some telltale signs through that. And then kind of like the second thing is just like try a bunch of stuff. Like I mentioned, I tried like co-op 4+1, I changed my majors. And don't get me wrong, there were like some semesters that I was taking like 20 credits and I was like, this is insane. But looking back, like I honestly wouldn't change a thing because it got me to experience so many of those different things to help me kind of put myself out there and see what was right for me. But definitely if you're doing that and trying out different things, just make sure like you're asking the right questions and getting connected to the right people. I had a great advisor. Shout out to Professor Abel. She was amazing when I wanted to change my major. Um, Even going from the engineering school to like the school of systems, which was a little bit tougher, but she helped in that whole process. So, yeah, definitely just try as much as you can. That'd be kind of my advice.
So luckily, engineering management, the undergraduate programs came over to the School of Engineering now. So we're
Oh,
all under one house.
very
So
exciting.
Dr. Kate Abel still the associate chair for undergrad and very involved in all the undergraduate programs for that former school, but now department within SES. So we've always shared curriculum, but now we're all kind of under the same roof, which is I think really nice for those programs. So yay.
Definitely makes
Um,
sense. Yeah, that's good to
and
see.
Yes, so that's like a little bit changed. And then the 4+1 program is actually now called AMP. It's like an accelerated master program, but
Mhm.
it's similar in that you finish your master's in 1 year. So yeah, that's a very popular program now, with systems engineering being one of the most popular masters, available through that program, and also, within that department of systems engineering now, which is so great. Um, always like to end with our guests giving us the best pitch of why someone should choose engineering management. So you're recruiting somebody to come into engineering management. Give us the best pitch. Why engineering management?
Oh, I love that. So I would say engineering management is definitely the best degree because it just sets you up for the most success, in whatever career path that you choose. So having that foundational engineering principles in that same curriculum, and then combining that with just the knowledge of the business application of what you're building is so huge, depending on whatever industry you go into, or like, honestly, whatever career path. So I feel like engineering management just like really sets you up like the best, right? Like it's important to know how to build something, whether it's like a singular product or a system, but knowing how to solve the problem at hand and actually bring that up to like a real world business application is definitely unbeatable experience. So I really recommend anyone. It's also really flexible in terms of career paths. So if you do want to go down a more technical route after Stevens, this degree sets you up for that. But then if you also want to go more into like a business route, go into consulting or project management, like any of that stuff, it's great as well. So I think it's the best degree.
That's awesome. We're gonna have a lot of future engineering management students. So that is all the time we have for today. I do want to give a big thank you to our guest, Ava. Thank you for sharing your journey and wisdom with us on Find Your Flock. For everybody who feels inspired or confused or just curious, you're not alone, and that's why we're here. Make sure to follow the show and share it with someone else exploring their steps at Stevens. Thank you.